13 nights ago, we got a report from a young gentleman in southwest Iowa. He recounted to me about a 5-hour period on the preceding night when he and another gentleman were pursuing some strange ships, strange lights in the sky in southwestern Iowa.
All right. The date is June 9th, 2024. 6-9, baby.
Oh, wow. I didn't notice that.
This is the 151st episode of Rock Hard Caucus. It's our Mew episode.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. The secret Pokemon.
Yep. You can only listen to this episode if you use strength on the truck by the boat.
Or you have to go to like a promotional event and get the link cable to get it traded to your Game Boy. Yeah. You can only listen to this episode on a Game Boy.
Game Boy exclusive. I should like compress it really, really into a tiny file that fits on a Game Boy.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Damn, I wonder if I can make that work.
Yeah.
There's got to be something out there where
in public places.
There's got to be some like homebrew software that like compresses audio into a Game Boy playable ROM. I'll look into that tonight. Do an exclusive physical release on Game Boy cartridge.
Yeah, you gotta love. I mean, that's a collector's item instantly. Make mad money on that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, hopefully soon we will have some T-shirts available. I don't think I've talked about that on the show, but I've been working with a guy, an independent T-shirt screen printer.
Nice.
Because I want to do a fundraiser for all of the, legal fees that so many of my friends have been piling up.
Yeah, that's good. Are you going to do the Hard Rock Caucus shirts,
It's a special design based on something I said on a previous episode. But I think we should keep it under wraps a little longer until I actually know that they're going to happen.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. So before we were recording, Evan and I were talking about how we're both sleepy. We haven't been getting enough rest. It's been a big week for me. There was the primary election on Tuesday. I stayed up really late talking to people after that. And then it's been Pokies Fest all weekend. You know about Pokies Fest, Evan?
Yeah, it's like, 30 bands or something?
Oh, yeah, we talked about it with Oliver last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 32. And I was able to catch everybody on Friday. So that was 12 bands on Friday. So I was, watching live music from about 5:30 to 1 a.m. or something. Just like nonstop hardcore music for the most part.
Yeah, that's a lot of... How many songs is that? It's all like punk bands, so it's like it's got to be a lot of songs there.
Yeah, how many 45-second songs fit into that 8-hour period? And then yesterday I was working, so I thought I was going to have to miss all the shows, but my dinner break lined up perfectly with a couple of bands, and I didn't eat dinner, and then it was still going when I was done with work, so I got to see 4 bands yesterday.
Nice.
But all that means that I have been prioritizing live music over my own health for the past couple days. The last show last night was this like electronic pop duo called Plaque Bleg, and it was like super gay, like leather stuff, and they're from Lincoln, Nebraska, and I was like pumping my fist. They're really exciting to see something like that coming from Lincoln. And that's kind of like the point of Pokies Fest. It's like, there's cool shit around here. Yeah. People should celebrate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, back to Tuesday night's news, the primary. That's mostly what I've got prepared for us today is like all the primary results. The one that, I was most focused on was local. It was the Johnson County Board of Supervisors primary, where there was a bit of an upset. I've been mentioning Mandy Remington, every episode for the past few months, my friend who is running for county supervisor. Well, she ended up winning. There were 5 candidates running for 3 seats. and there were 3 incumbents. So a lot of people expected, the incumbents are going to hold it. Mm-hmm. The Iowa City Federation of Labor, which is like the, local organized labor group, all the local unions, they endorsed all the incumbents.
Yep.
And
that sounds like a union endorsement.
Yeah, they've got a good track record of always endorsing incumbents, even the ones who lose.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was going to say you got to pick winners, but I guess sometimes a safe bet isn't always the best bet.
No. Yeah. I mean, they also, I think we may have talked about this last year, but they endorsed incumbent Pauline Taylor in the Iowa City Council against Laura Burgess, and that was a fucking blowout. So they should have felt some shame there and reconsidered their political instincts. But whatever. It's a group that I don't participate in, so I can't really say much about their decision making. I did select a clip here for us to just reminisce.
Hard Rock Caucus. So I thought it was some porn stuff.
So that's in honor of Roy Sam Porter's loss this week. And that's a topic that most of the time we kind of just allude to rather than like explicitly discuss what happened.
Yeah, that's true.
So now that it's like the saga is kind of over, I guess we can like directly confront the issue. Back in August 2022, it was a podcast that we released like a month or two before that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But a friend of ours, Amel Ali, came on Toxic Feminine Mystique, which was a Patreon series that Natalie and Stella were doing for a long time. And Amel is a very outspoken person and has very strong opinions about local politics, and spoke.
That's a perfect platform. So did Natalie and Stella. So
yeah. So she spoke very candidly about how she felt about some local leaders. That's a phrase that a lot of people involved have used. Leaders. Yeah. So because Amel said some critical things using, somewhat harsh language, a person who was a subject of one of those pointed statements, was very upset about that. That would be Roy Sam Porter, who at the time was the chair of the Johnson County Board of Supervisors. Well, when somebody with that level of power, is offended by something that's said on a paywalled podcast that, I'd say double-digit number of people were listening to at the time. Rather than let it go, she tried to use her connections to other local elected politicians, and she sort of made the Iowa City Council have like emergency public meetings about this. And that's what that clip I played is from. That's her talking about our podcast in 2022.
Hard Rock Caucus. So I thought it was some porn stuff.
And that's fair. That's kind of the point of the name, is that you think it's a sexual reference.
Yeah. Most of the time it's not porn. There's not any rock hard cocks or anything.
No, we're
yeah.
We're pretty private about our sex lives, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Speaking of, I made one like very tame joke on Twitter, and all these kids at Pokies Fest were like calling me a gay pervert all weekend. No, it's all right. It's all in good fun. Yeah. So basically, from that point forward, from August 22 forward, Johnson County Supervisor Roy Sam Porter, made herself an enemy of the podcast, which, does that mean anything? Well, now maybe it does. Because she lost her re-election bid this week.
I just love that picture of her confronting you about trying to get a copy of the podcast, because Smooth Operator Justin took that episode down like pretty much immediately after there's any wind of powerful people listening to it. Yeah.
Okay, so the problem is that not only was she was trying to get Amel removed from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which has had a lot of ups and downs over the years. It was started in 2020 as the city's sort of attempt to, I would say, co-opt the, anti-police sentiment that a lot of people were expressing very, very aggressively out in public at the time. Mm-hmm. And they've wanted to undermine it and basically end it since it started. And Roy Porter she was on it at the beginning, and there was, a lot of conflict between her and other members. Mm-hmm. So she's got that vendetta. Now she was trying to get Amell removed. And so, where was I going with that?
Withholding the podcast from from her grasp.
right. It wasn't only that, whatever. If you want to have this fight out in public, I think that's a bad idea, but whatever. They were also trying to go after her, employment, mm-hmm. the money she earns at a job to pay her bills. They were going after her in that avenue. And so, I can't let you have the audio that you're going to twist and misinterpret in order to ruin my friend's life.
And it's not that bad. If it was that bad, you wouldn't have released it. We edit the podcast. You edit the podcast. I don't do shit. But
right.
We want to protect people come on the podcast. You don't want them to get in trouble for things that they say. So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So what we had, speaking of the Iowa City Federation of Labor, a guy named Jesse Case, who's part of the Teamsters Local 238, he sent a message to our Patreon page at the time, asking me to send him the episodes, and gave me his phone number. So that's one reason I don't participate in those meetings.
Old people do not know how to use computers. They do not know what an RSS feed is. They do not know what Patreon is.
That's the thing, the first time you were listening to that episode, you could have downloaded the file. Then you wouldn't be relying on me providing you with a copy. Yeah. So that picture that was taken at that meeting where she was confronting me, asking me for the episodes, that's what the caption says. Really what she was doing was yelling at me because she gave us money and I took away what she wanted. The money being $1.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So in the moment, all I said to her was, I will refund you that money. No problem.
Yeah.
She wasn't quite satisfied with that response either. Anyway, so things built up over the last couple years. She also had a very nasty verbal conflict with Caucus Nobis and Marie Krebs, who are part of the Great Plains Action. I think it's Action Society. I forget exactly what the name is, but they advocate for indigenous people in Iowa, and all this shit is on the Rock Hard Caucus YouTube. That's what I've been doing the past few months, is making sure these clips are out there. And she also had a conflict with people advocating for trans people in Johnson County just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So some of the stuff I'm about to read from local media reports on the election, the way that she's framing things, basically what I was just talking about is kind of the context you need. So overall, the results were Rod Sullivan got first place. Lisa Green Douglas got second place.
You love to see it. Rod coming in strong. You will never remove him from that seat.
No, he knows how to win elections.
He's going to be firing salvos for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on the board for 20 years. He's out there in the community talking to people every fucking day. I got a lot of political disagreements with the guy, most intensely on the issue of the sheriff and police.
Yeah.
But the dude knows how to win elections. Rod and Lisa, two incumbents who kept their seats, and then Mandy got third, knocking out Roy Porter, who got fourth, and Bob Conrad, who raised and spent the most money, got last place. He also suffered from a kind of smear campaign, which was that I looked at his financial filings and told people what I saw in there.
Yeah. People found out that he's a Republican.
Yeah. A smear campaign being, we know that you are employed by the Iowa State Patrol. So here's a couple snippets I clipped from the Gazette. They put a piece out the night of the election. 2 incumbents, 1 newcomer win Johnson County Board of Supervisors primary election. So this is coming from Roy Porter here. The results of Tuesday's primary caught her off guard, she said, and she was especially disappointed with the low voter turnout. Numbers-wise, we had 17,446 people voting of, I think, a voting population of 75,000 in the county. So that's
pretty good for a primary election where I mean, I guess the supervisor race is hot, but other than that,
right?
not a lot.
Almost every other race was unopposed. So, Democrats wise, I think every other thing on my ballot was unopposed. So, like,
yeah. We saw our
not
friend
much reason to go out.
Rob Hogg out here trying to make sure that you'd vote for the people who are running unopposed because they need votes
too.
too.
Was so weird.
Yeah, they need votes too, guys.
They literally don't.
They can't win if you don't vote for him. Elizabeth Warren, 2020.
Yeah, he was especially pushing people to vote for Christina Bohannon, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Or no, he's in District 2, right? He's a Cedar Rapids guy. So
yeah,
he would be
he's
voting
Cedar Rapids.
for,
He used to be my state rep.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
He'd be voting for Sarah Corkery for the congressional race. Who I think I mentioned before. I met her. She seems nice. But Ashley Hinson may be unstoppable after the
I don't think Christina
Amazing Grace
Bohannon's
thing.
Gonna do much.
No, I don't think a lot's gonna. Well, I don't know. It is a presidential year, but that could actually be worse for them.
Yeah, I don't know.
Case.
Christina Bohannon she's does not come across as authentic at all. So I don't know. It's hard to see. Who knows? We don't know. I think, the 3rd district is up for grabs and probably that district too.
Probably. Yeah.
Lean Republican. What's that one guy who always does all those election Rasmussen or no, not Rasmussen. Whatever.
Yeah. They always, it's big news. This race has changed from lean Republican to toss up. Continuing with the Royce Porter snippet here. Additionally, Porter said there has been a smear campaign against her since October, following an incident in a Board of Supervisors meeting in which she and several audience members got into a yelling match.
One person got into a yelling match, I think.
Yeah. Again, this was when the Board of Supervisors was doing a proclamation for missing and murdered Indigenous people. And Royce Porter kind of derailed the conversation and said that we should be doing a proclamation for all people. Look, the smear campaign is that people saw that.
Yeah. Well,
it's videos of her words and actions.
I mean, she was kind of running a little smear campaign against Amel. I mean,
yes,
she was trying to say that things that she definitely did not say on the podcast.
That's true.
Implying that she said things that were absolutely not said. We don't have to go into any more detail than that. I don't think.
And it should be noted that every time she had a subsequent incident in the 2 years between then and now, she kept referring back to that first incident. Yes. Mischaracterizing what was said and what happened. She tried to make it seem like no one was supporting her in that moment.
Yeah.
And she got the fucking city council to schedule multiple public meetings on very short notice because she was offended by a podcast.
Yeah. Like, ridiculous.
And also her smear campaign, she didn't have the recordings.
Yeah, there's nothing to go on. Like,
the smear campaign that was done against her was using clips of her speaking at her job.
Yeah, it's not a conspiracy when you have multiple unpleasant interactions with members of the public. It's like it's not like some plot to take you down. You're kind of doing it to yourself. Honestly,
it probably would have gone away.
Yeah, for sure.
If no the incident with Caucus had not happened in October.
No, I mean, come on. It's like the most that anyone has cared about any of our podcasts, and it's completely nothing. It's insane. Yeah, and I up until October of last year, I was resigned to she's probably going to get reelected. There's not much that we as a community can do about it. And then she just kept kicking a hornet's nest over the past few months. She really did do this to herself. Yeah, there would not have been an effective quote smear campaign if she had not continued to antagonize people. More of what she said. I don't look at that as why I lost, but it was some dirty games played. I'll still be able to continue to help the people. That's a reward for me. Porter said she plans to finish out her 6 months remaining on the board by continuing to advocate for her campaign issues. She said she will continue to be involved in the community after her term concludes. I can tell you it's not the end. I've advocated in the community for years, so I'm not done. I have a recording of things that she said the night that she lost the election. So we'll refer back to this when I get to that. Let's talk about Bob Conrad for a minute. I talked about how,
Ian Mallory, University of Iowa police detective, probably enemy number one of the rock hard community at this point. He donated $500 to Bob Conrad. That was like probably the biggest red flag. All the warning bells were going off at my house when I found that.
Did Joseph Dobrian have a preferred candidate in this election?
I did not see a donation from Joe. I think he's too principled to give to a Democratic campaign, even if it is some kind of Trojan horse. So here's a snippet from the Gazette about Bob. Conrad, 54, of Iowa City. Man, he's younger than my dad. Hadn't thought about that till now. Is an Iowa State Patrol trooper and public resource officer. He does not have any experience as an elected official, but he has been elected to several union roles. The issues Conrad supported in his campaign were affordable housing, public transportation, government transparency and outreach, as well as sustainable funding avenues for county programs.
What's that last one about?
Sustainable funding avenues for county programs. I watched all these candidate forums. I don't recall that being really discussed in detail.
I just assumed that was like the police budget.
Sure. Yeah. That kind of phrasing is often a euphemism for some kind of austerity, but, I don't know. Every time he talked, I felt like he was kind of lying and just saying the shit that you have to say in Johnson County if you want to be taken seriously. Mm-hmm. You have to be a Democrat who pays lip service to vaguely progressive politics.
Yeah.
And he tried, but unfortunately I could see who was giving him money. But the most important part of this is Conrad could not be reached for comment after the results were announced. He has pretty much disappeared since Tuesday night. Deleted the campaign Facebook page.
Wow.
Like Tuesday night. Like at some point that night, it was gone. Has not made a public statement to my knowledge about his loss. There was, I think, a Daily Iowan article that he gave a comment to, but which was very vaguely like, I'm going to keep on living. Again, Lisa Green Douglas, an incumbent who won. This is a bit from her. Green Douglas said she was surprised by Remington's defeat of Porter because Remington previously had been defeated in an Iowa City Council election. Green Douglas noted that Porter has done an excellent job in her role as supervisor. So that's, I wonder, what if that was intentional? What if Mandy intentionally lost an election in order to give them a false sense of security? I'm just speculating. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but it would have been a pretty brilliant strategy if that was the case.
Absolutely.
And then here's what Mandy said. Tuesday's primary results left Remington feeling blessed, thankful of the support of the community, she said. Remington said she attributes her success in the primary to her grassroots campaigning strategy, adding she did not have any paid staff or consultants that assisted her with campaigning, nor did she collaborate with any other candidates running in the election. I've shown up for the community, and the community has been showing up for me with this campaign, so I'm just going to keep doing that. And that's pretty much the story. It's that enough people were willing to involve themselves in electoral politics one more time just to see that there is a possibility here.
Yeah. It's funny. Electoral politics gets a bad rap, and it, for good reason. But then it's like a lot of the people who are complaining about it are just arguing about which dead guys are good. They're not. It's you're not really very more tethered to reality or anything than getting behind a candidate, that might not be perfect, but
I mean, it's definitely cringe to earnestly support an electoral campaign.
Yeah.
But basically what happened here is that John Green, V. Fixmer Arrays are on the board for sure. They weren't up for re-election. These are the two candidates who have, given at least some pushback to everything that the county sheriff is trying to get out of the board. And now we have a third person who is also not going to be a pushover about this stuff. Mm-hmm. 3 out of 5, that's a voting majority.
Yeah. This
is what they were scared of. The people opposed to Mandy's success here. Johnson County is now, we're abolishing the police for real. Now, unfortunately, I don't think that is going to happen, but, that big ass $80 million jail that our sheriff wants to build, I don't think that's going to happen. In fact, there's an IPR piece about that, how Mandy is completely opposed to the plan that they presented recently. That article came out shortly before the election, and maybe that convinced some people to vote. I don't know.
Yeah, the whole jail thing was just weird. They're like acting like it's like a point of pride in your community. Like, oh, wow, like property values are going up because they got a really fancy jail. Like,
yeah, people love having a huge jail in their community. It makes them feel safe and proud. I mean, that was literally like in the PowerPoint that they presented.
It's insane.
Was that civic pride? We'll feel civic pride in the shadow of this like monstrosity. Daily Iowan article about the election. Porter said she's going to focus on her restaurant, Roysan's Soul Food. That's where she was the night of the election. They did their watch party there at her restaurant on the south side of Iowa City. It wasn't expected, Porter said of her loss. I just think things happen for a reason. I would have loved to continue to be on the Johnson County Board of Supervisors, but since I'm not, I will just focus more on my husband and my 2 daughters. I will focus on my family. That sounds great to me. Focus on your family. Let the rest of us sort of participate in local politics without getting yelled at, belittled, insulted. Okay. I mentioned that I think I mentioned I have this video, right? Did I tell you that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the night of the election, Roysan Porter and her supporters were Roysan Porter and her supporters.
Yeah. Gonna watch it there.
That phrase, man, you can trip over some stuff in there. They were at Roysan's Soul Food, her restaurant, and one of her daughters was live streaming to Facebook. I don't think a lot of people have seen or heard what's in this video. So let me just pull up a couple things that I thought were interesting. Before I start playing from the video, Iowa City Mayor Bruce Teague was in attendance at this watch party. Iowa City Councilor Mazahir Saleh was also at this watch party. So she also had, these are people who bet on her and lost as well, I think. I'm not sure what else to say about that. Somewhat disappointing to see Mazahir supporting Roysan Porter to this extent. Whatever. I don't have a lot of inside information on that I can really talk about. But there's Bruce Teague, the mayor. But what I want to play is this short snippet from a woman named Mary McCann, who over the past couple weeks has been showing up to various meetings of local governments, not just the county, not just Iowa City. I know she came to Coralville City Council. I think she was sending letters to other small towns in the county, basically telling people, do not vote for Mandy Remington. Essentially because if the sheriff's budget gets fucked with at all, I'll let her use her own words. And the audio quality is not great in this, so if you can't understand any of it, Evan, I have transcribed it as well. So let me know if you can't understand this.
All right.
It's really hard when the truth tellers are defeated by the liars. We have people out there lying about their policies, misbehaving all the way around, playing shell games with their words. And now the police are screwed. All of the city councils are screwed because they're going to take power from all of the unincorporated towns. They want the power. They want their little fantasy plan to come true. And they lied about it throughout. They were dishonest about policy. When that's okay, how do you really reassess? You have to expose it.
This is not very far removed from QAnon mom shit,
Yeah, sort of talking about a shadowy cabal of people who are tricking the masses into voting for what she called a little fancy plan.
Yeah.
It's really hard when the truth tellers are defeated by the liars. We have people out there lying about their policies, misbehaving all the way around. playing shell games with their words.
Yeah, I love that. Playing shell games with words.
Yeah. How does that how does that metaphor work?
I don't know. I think it's like they're using Trojan horse words, I guess. It's I don't know, some George Orwell shit or something.
Yeah, we're doing double
speak. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about like putting a word. Shell game is when you put the thing under the cup and you move the cups around, right? And the person tries to guess which cup has the thing under it. Who's doing that with words, and how does that work? Try to find the word. Yeah, I really like the little fancy plan. That's, there was like a dark, dirty campaign going on in order for us to enact our little fancy plan right under everybody's noses. Mary McCann, by the way, is the founder of Truth Download 2020 Vision.
Truth Download 2020 Vision. Okay, so yeah, again, that is just QAnon shit. I mean, I almost said TrueAnon. It's QAnon shit.
Yeah, Truth Download 2020 Vision, which is a Facebook group.
Yeah, is that a Conor O'Malley stand-up special? Yeah,
it has that kind of like combination of words. So she's somebody who, I don't know, if it feels like she thinks she has more influence over local politics than she does, and that she's got all the answers. She sees through all the bullshit. So yeah, like somebody who probably spends too much time on the computer. And then let's hear a little bit from the candidate herself, Royce-Ann Porter. Again, this is moments after finding out for sure that she has not been reelected. This is her basically a concession speech in some ways, although some of what you hear, it doesn't sound so much like she's conceding a loss.
Yeah.
And right before this, you can't hear it super well in the video, but somebody in the crowd says, "Oh, you don't have to be PC anymore. This could get dangerous."
She was being PC before?
Yeah. When she says that a group trying to advocate for trans people in the county is bullshit. Yeah, that's very politically correct. All right. So here's a little bit more political correctness from Royce-Ann Porter on her way out.
And everyone that came out and supported me, I want to say thank you. It has been this past year. Serving 5.5 years on Johnson County Supervisor, first black African American elected to a county seat, first black chair. I came in and did what I had to do. I am not mad at all. Now they have to wait and see what's going to be done. I am leaving, and I'm leaving on a happy note. I'm leaving because I know that I did what I was supposed to do. I'm leaving because I know that this was a smear campaign. I know that ever since October of 2023, what was coming at me and what was going for me.
Okay, October of 2023? She's
yes.
talking about Tomas?
No. Yeah, she should have talked about that. I'm sure I'd love to hear what she has to say about the Israel situation. No, that's about the sort of fallout from her being dismissive and shitty towards indigenous people in the county. October of 2023 was the meeting where she got into a shouting match with a member of the public.
I know they played a dirty game, but it's okay, because guess what? They didn't win, I won. You know why? Because the people voted me in because of who I am. They voted me in because I stand up for what I stand for. I don't sugarcoat shit. Period. I'm afraid. I have never been afraid of anything. You can bring it. Bring it. I am not afraid of anything. But when you have to play dirty, I could have played dirty too. But I didn't play dirty because I got God on my side, and I think God got something better for me. And I'm just moving on. I got 6 more months on the board of supervisors. I'm going to get in there, continue to do what I got to do. But one thing you can say about Royce-Ann Porter, and they've always said it, she speaks her mind. So many cowards out here. It is so many cowards. When I tell you, they are afraid. Everybody is afraid to say anything. They see what's going on, but they won't call it out. But guess what? We're saying call it as though it is.
Okay, so that's shortly after finding out she's not going to be reelected. That's what she had to say. I'd like to zoom in on one little bit of that real quick. They didn't win. I won. That's not the case. This is some election denial, which I've been told over the past few years is like one of the most bad things you can do, right? As a politician, Democrats have been the ones saying that like this is like one of the top crimes is to lie about the results of an election.
Yeah. The funny thing to me is they voted you out because of the fact that you, quote unquote, don't sugarcoat shit.
Right.
Like
she said here, the people voted me in because of who I am. And so why did the people vote you out? For the same reason?
Same reason?
Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's too bad, you know? Like it is historically significant that Royce-Ann Porter was the first black person elected to a county position like that. Like that's obviously, you know, we have a lot of black people who live in this county who should be represented in government if we're going to have a representative government like this. Yeah, I just think over the past couple years, is it ego? I don't know. So just the way that she treated people in public meetings, it just can't, obviously the voters were not about it.
Yeah.
Things went too far.
Is the restaurant good though? Like
I mean, I can't speak to that. I don't feel like I would be welcomed in there.
You don't eat a lot of soul food?
I mean, soul food's great, but like the owner of that restaurant does not like me. I don't think it would be a good idea to hang out there. Yeah, I was about to say, after all this time, Royce-Ann has not blocked me on Facebook, but as of Tuesday night, I have been blocked on Facebook by Royce-Ann Porter. It's finally, I went too far. What I did was I shared her Facebook post, sort of thanking her supporters and conceding her loss.
Well, aren't you still technically her constituent for another 6 months? So isn't that illegal for her to block you?
It may technically, you know, by the letter of the law, not be legal for her to block me on Facebook, but it's not something that I'm going to raise a stink about. Oh, and also a thing that she said that I thought was interesting. Yeah, so many powers out there. It is so many powers. When I tell you they are afraid, everybody is afraid to say anything. They see what's going on, but they won't call it out.
Yeah, could you be a little more specific about like what you're calling out? Because it's like really vague, actually.
Right, and like the conflicts that we've seen you engaged in public at meetings is like, you know, pushing back against the county, acknowledging like indigenous people and trans people.
Yeah.
So are those?
Yeah. So many powers. Would you like name some of them? Like I assume our podcast would be one. Like it's really powerful force for evil.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, we proved it. Like this is probably the first election that Rock Hard Caucus has played a measurable role in, I think. Well, you know,
we're not going to count Marionette Miller Meeks.
I was about to say that. Marionette Miller Meeks winning the 2020 election by 6 votes. We may have had
that was all us.
some influence over that.
But hey, you know, we don't demoralize voters. The powers that be that are not us demoralize voters. Like, come on.
It's not my fault people didn't want to vote for anyone.
Yeah.
They do this to themselves. And then in the last moments of this Facebook Live video, it's Royce-Ann herself jokes that she'll need a job come January. Reminder, this is while she's standing in a restaurant that she owns. I don't know. I don't know about the financials of the business. You know, things can be real hard, especially for a restaurant. But she also says, right now, I'll keep making that $90,000. So she's bragging that for the next 6 months, even though she's clearly on her way out, she will be collecting, you know, another $45,000 on the the public's dime.
Man, yeah, $90,000. It's what, $200,000 annual? It seems like a lot, but I don't know.
I think it's $90K a year is the supervisor salary. There was a lot of discussion about this at one of the candidate forums. The incumbents made themselves look a little weird talking about the money that they make at this job. Do we want to talk about the congressional primaries? Because there's a little bit of interesting stuff in each one, actually.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's the Lennon Bacom versus Melissa Vine thing, which we talked about a few times.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our friend Melissa did not do very well. You know, she was sabotaged by her own campaign manager. So,
yeah.
What do we think was going to happen?
Yeah, it was a long shot from the start, but that kind of put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, so Lou McDonald is definitely to blame for this. Lennon Bacom, 84% of the vote. Melissa Vine, about 16%. So I'd say that's a blowout. Apologies to Rock Hard Caucus endorsed candidate Melissa Vine. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff that I had prepared potentially for last week's episode that we kind of skipped over. The Iowa Unity Coalition, that was the PAC that Lou McDonald was maybe attempting to bribe for an endorsement.
Yeah. Allegedly, definitely trying to bribe them.
And then sort of weirdly blackmailing them afterwards. Our old friend Jalen Cavill knows a little bit more about this group than we do, which, you know, I would expect him to, having run for office over there. Mm-hmm. So the Iowa Unity Coalition kind of came to existence after the implosion of the Asian and Latino Coalition of several years prior. This is a group that it was really like building up notoriety for the 2020 primaries. They hosted a lot of like presidential candidates, town hall type stuff back in 2019. They ended up endorsing Kamala Harris. But Jalen pointed me to like the end of the Asian and Latino Coalition, which was very interesting and funny. There's a piece in the Des Moines Register from January 6th of 2020, the -1 anniversary of the good January 6th.
I forgot about January 6th. My bad.
Yeah, people keep forgetting about the most infamous day in history. Mm-hmm. Here's the headline from the DMR. Leadership of Asian Latino Coalition is in dispute. One group says chairman was removed. He says that's not true. So the guy, their chair who was removed, Prakash Koparapu, apologies if I'm mispronouncing, Prakash Koparapu, called word of his removal misinformation and said the channels used to announce his departure, a news release from a group email account, and a post on Twitter are not run by the coalition. So this was like the last gasp of this group. Like they went completely inactive by the 2020 presidential election. Mm-hmm. But this is the statement they had released at the time. This is their press release. Asian and Latino Coalition ousts chair, citing misconduct. After receiving repeated reports of misconduct, the board of directors for the Asian and Latino Coalition PAC have unanimously voted to remove Prakash Koparapu from the board, effective immediately. Due to ongoing legal action around this matter, we cannot comment on the specifics of the reports at this time. However, we remain committed to promoting political empowerment, blah, blah, blah. What really caught my eye here. This organization is critical in giving our communities a voice and a platform to engage with our elected leaders, said Sam Bacom, a last name I was primed to recognize because of Lennon Bacom running for office. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's funny that there's this like public spat about who's in charge of this organization. The guy who was like being ousted like retained control of the Facebook page or something after he had been removed.
That's always good.
Yeah. So it's old news, but it's funny. But it started leading me down a rabbit hole. Like, oh, a Bacom appeared in the news for their political involvement years ago. Is this like a relative of his? I think that Sam Bacom is like related to him through marriage, but then that was leading me to like, so Lennon Bacom's family is part of the Thai Dam ethnic group. They're like a minority. I think his family came from Laos. Mm-hmm. So, when the Vietnam War was like ruining millions of lives, a lot of refugees ended up coming here. Former Iowa Governor Robert Ray was responsible for bringing a lot of Thai Dom refugees specifically to Iowa.
Yep.
He's very well renowned by a lot of Thai Dom people specifically because he's the reason they're here. Do you know anything about that? Like why them and why here?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. But I mean, he gets brought up a lot about like these kind of Republicans don't exist anymore, you know, like he was like a very like, you know, like old school Republican thing to do. But yeah, I don't really know like the specifics of why it was like here, but there's still like a ton, like especially I live on the southeast side of Des Moines. There's a ton of Southeast Asian immigrants here. There's like a Buddhist center a couple blocks from my house, which I think the Thai Dom are not like Buddhist, but anyway, there's a lot of really good Vietnamese restaurants.
Yeah.
Adong.
Nice. Shout out.
Yeah. Adong. If you check it out. There's always a bunch of really old white-haired ladies in there. I don't know why every time I go there.
Yeah. But yeah, Sambakam, who again, I think is related to Lanambakam via marriage. She's quoted in an article about Bob Ray from like when he died, you know, sort of honoring his memory for, like you said, being the good kind of Republican.
A Republican who says that immigrants are, you know, the heartbeat of the country or whatever. Like,
right.
Not making him like that anymore.
No,
I don't really know anything else about Rob Ray, though. I'm sure he was a shithead in many other aspects.
Yeah, he's got to be. Yeah. Prior to Branstad, I think he was our longest serving governor, so he was well liked by the voters of Iowa in the mid to late 20th century. Take that however you will. So yeah, learning a little bit about like how that group ended up in Iowa, I was like, okay, what's the deal with Lenon's family? So his parents, I think, had 3 daughters already when they relocated to Iowa, and then he was the first one born here. So he grows up with this like patriotic propaganda that like, you know, America saved his family from who knows what would have happened as a result of the conflict that was also the fault of America. So he's in Mount Pleasant is where his family sort of settled. His parents worked at an envelope factory, which I think is still operating in Mount Pleasant. But growing up with this like super idealized vision of America because his family has escaped the worst of America's actions.
It's pretty understandable. I mean,
yeah.
As much as America sucks, it's a lot better than like war-torn Vietnam.
Yeah. Even if it is America's fault, you know, that's going to be twisted around in the story that you're told as a child, you know, the first American-born child of his family. So there's a lot of old like articles about, so he went to Drake, and the Drake student newspaper Times-Delphic wrote a piece about him when so at age 17, I think I mentioned this last week, age 17, he enlists in the military, and then he came back, went to Drake on the GI Bill or whatever, you know. And so there's a piece in the Times-Delphic, the Drake newspaper from 2011, called "Veteran Enlisted Young Returns a Changed Man," which is such a vague headline.
Yeah, that sounds bad. I mean,
yeah, but it's all presented in a super positive light. And then he ended up working for the USDA. And I also alluded to this last week. Statement by Mr. Lenon Bakam, USDA Deputy Undersecretary for Farm and Foreign Agricultural Services, before the Senate Appropriations Committee Subcommittee on Agriculture from April of 2016. This is just a small part of that. During my active duty service in 2004 to 2005, I served as a combat engineer during a 15-month mobilization and deployment in Kandahar, Afghanistan. Is it Kandahar? I know I've heard that before. Yeah,
I think you got it.
Yeah. I was stationed. I'm so insecure about all this.
It's all right. Just let it fly.
I was stationed on a small provincial reconstruction team base, and my responsibilities included working to improve our facilities and defenses, as well as explosive demolitions of unexploded ordnances. Okay, sounds like standard, you know, Afghanistan deployment in 2004. Confiscation of drugs and improvised explosive devices. So he mentions that part of his duty is confiscation of drugs. when he's talking to the Senate Appropriations Committee in 2016. Fast forward. Actually, this is 2023. I put the date wrong. Fast forward to November of 2023 when he announces he's running for Congress. This is from the Southeast Iowa Union, which is a newspaper located or at least reporting on Mount Pleasant. I think it's one of those ones that's like covering multiple small towns. Thus the name, Southeast Iowa Union.
Yep.
According to Bacom's website, his parents came to Iowa in 1980 from Laos and worked at the McKay Envelope Factory. Bacom graduated from Mount Pleasant Community High School in 1999, graduated from Drake in 2011. Now here's what he says about his military service. At 17 years old, I sat at a table just like this with a local National Guard recruiter and my parents. I wasn't 18 yet, so I needed their blessing and their signatures to join. Oof.
Yeah, that's grim.
While he says his parents worried about his decision because they saw the war in Vietnam firsthand, they agreed because they knew his determination. After 9/11, my National Guard unit was activated and deployed to Afghanistan. As a combat engineer, I was on the front line, detonating unexploded ordnance and weapons caches. So what's missing?
Of the drugs.
Yeah. What's changed between 2016 and 2023 that he no longer mentions? The confiscation of drugs when he was deployed in Afghanistan. So yeah, he's up against Zach Nunn now. He got the nomination. It's going to be Army boy versus Air Force boy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll vote for him. I'm not voting for Zach Nunn. I don't know. I mean, I don't really get much excitement from voting for Lennon Bacom.
Yeah. You wish it was Melissa Vine.
Yeah, I would have been very enthusiastic vote for Melissa Vine for sure.
Out knocking doors.
But yeah, I mean, he basically is, the prototype of a Democrat who's going to be running in a, swing election. Like,
yeah,
veteran, clean, squeaky clean record, and racial minority. Like that's, he's hitting all the boxes for the like mainstream Democrat lane. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like from what I've read that he really had political ambitions prior to like last year, but it sure does seem like he was like
it seems like he was
perfect background.
He was like might have been groomed for it from a very early age or something.
Yeah, who knows? Other primaries in the state. We had competitive Republican primaries in the 1st and 4th districts. Marionette Miller Meeks was challenged by David Pauch. It's P-A-U-T-S-C-H. Pauch. And this was a lot closer than people expected. So David Pauch is like he's a member of the Christian right, I would say. He is most well known among Republicans for hosting the annual prayer breakfast in the Quad Cities, which you've probably heard about that in the news before. Bring the Republicans out to advocate for hardcore Christian values. He ran against her because she was not conservative enough in his and many other local Republicans' opinion. Miller Meeks, however, she did win that primary 56% to 44%.
I mean, she's a fighter. She's been through so many elections that, this Pouch guy, I don't think was any threat. She didn't even have to like play the fiddle or anything.
Right. Here, I pulled up the Quad City Times. This is a Sarah Watson piece from June 5th about this primary. Just a little bit about his motivations for getting in the race. He criticized Miller Meeks for her support for the Respect for Marriage Act because of its protections for same-sex marriages and her vote to certify the 2020 election.
Damn.
At least 2 Republican county organizations in her district voted to censure Miller Meeks for her support for the Respect for Marriage Act, contending its protections for same-sex marriages are contrary to the Republican Party platform, which is true. That is in opposition to their party platform.
He's got a really good website.
Yes, it is very good. I made sure to put that in our document. This is a guy who I learned about many, many months ago and then immediately forgot about until a few weeks ago. Somebody put a David Pouch yard sign up a few blocks from me. And I saw that and I was like, what the fuck? Is that even a local politician? And technically, yes.
It's funny. The top thing on his website is a clip from the Gutfeld show about Miller Meeks getting torched by Greg Gutfeld. Terrible line of questioning in COVID hearing. People love to hear that COVID nowadays. And then the second thing is Trump calls David a very good man.
Trump calls David a very good man.
That's all you need to know.
This was following the filming of a Fox News town hall with Sean Hannity in Davenport. Damn, I should have gone to that. That sounds like a fun time. A reporter asked Trump about David, which is when he said, he's a very good man. It made headlines across Iowa. Really?
I didn't see those.
My favorite thing about David's website is along the top, there's like the normal stuff like about, endorsements, press, and then there's a link that just says request David.
Mail order David.
Yeah, go on there, put in your David request. He's probably got a little more free time now because he did lose that primary. So may have some more time in his schedule for you to request David. And then one last one. Randy Feenstra had a primary opponent to his right as well. Kevin Virgil.
Great name.
Kevin Virgil. 2 first names.
2 great first names.
Yeah, Kevin is evil Evan, as we've discussed.
Yeah.
And then Virgil has
there's connotations involved with that.
It's got a bit of a groomer stink on it these days. I did not look into Kevin Virgil's background. I don't think he's from Texas, but Feenstra won that primary about 60-40, so not quite as close as the Miller Meeks challenger, but still, I think, closer than a lot of people expected, including Randy Feenstra himself. And Kevin Virgil apparently has been saying to media that he plans on running again. He came kind of out of nothing, as far as I know, but he was endorsed by some big players in the more conservative parts of the 4th District Republicans. Well,
Steve
Vivek
King?
Ramaswamy. Steve King being, notable. It's notable that someone running in the primary up there is putting a Steve King endorsement front and center in his campaign.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting. He got 40%, so there's still an appetite for the most extreme conservatism in the 4th District. Believe it or not.
Yeah, shocking. Who could have guessed? I mean, I've been saying for the past couple years at least that Steve King is still a player in local politics.
Absolutely.
And clearly his influence has not gone away and maybe swinging back now that Kevin Virgil has been, putting his hat in the ring with Steve's support. But what really jumped out at me this week with that primary is the hit piece that came out in the Iowa Standard the day before the election. And you read this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Iowa Standard, not exactly a reputable news source, so don't take any of this as gospel, but June 3rd, complaint filed with Denison Police Department against Feenstra by Crawford County GOP chair. And this is Eileen Saylor. She filed a complaint after another member of law enforcement encouraged her to after she described her experience. And what her experience is Saylor had asked the staff of Congressperson Feenstra numerous times if he would be attending a candidate forum in Crawford County. She again reached out at an event in Denison. Saylor asked Congressperson Feenstra's staffer Emily Schwickerath, who told Saylor she would have to check Feenstra's schedule. So this is an event. Feenstra is there in person. This old lady who's a local Republican county chair is trying to get him to come to a forum. Feenstra then confronted Saylor, shoving his fist and finger in her face. According to the complaint, Feenstra asked, "Why should I come to your forum when you endorse my opponent?" Denison police attempted to obtain surveillance footage, but the owner of the facility said cameras were in the back of the restaurant and bar area. So there's no video evidence of this taking place. And you know what Feenstra looks like. A very tall, lurchy type.
Bird-like.
I think he since he, knocked out Steve King, he has made efforts to appear normal by comparison. He wants
normal
to be
guy.
sort of I think he's been referred to as an empty suit by Steve King himself.
Yeah, he's Steve King without all the flavor.
These people are sick.
He doesn't want to make any waves. He's just a guy filling a seat. So the fact that he's like, according to this article, getting very aggressively in the face of like an 80-year-old woman at a political event seems
just for endorsing someone else. Like, I mean, maybe, I don't know. Kevin Virgil must be, he was feeling the heat. Marionette Miller Meeks was not feeling the heat, but maybe Feenstra was fiending. He was
fiending Feenstra. Randy Feenstra.
Yeah.
Saylor told the Iowa Standard that the anger Congressperson Feenstra expressed to her was unbelievable. It rocked my world, she said. I didn't expect it. I think somewhere in here it says she's 76. So for a 76-year-old woman to have her world rocked is like, you got to be careful. You can't have your world rocking at that age like you can, in your 30s and 40s. World rocking, like, you only got so many of those in you. Chances of injury increase quite a bit at that age.
Absolutely. Break something.
First of all, I would never vote for Randy Feenstra again. That's done for. But I was never rude to him. Honest to God, that is not my nature to be rude. But he was so mad that I endorsed Kevin Virgil, and I wondered why. What fuse did that set off in Feenstra? He went off on me. He was so angry and just spitting words out at me. The other day when I made my police statement, I broke into tears again. I am not a weak person.
I feel like there has to be more to this story. Like, this sounds way too personal over just like an endorsement. I mean, it sounds like there's some major history.
You think there's history between Randy and Ms. Saylor?
Yeah, or the Crawford County GOP.
Maybe the county itself, yeah.
Yeah.
If only there was video, I would love to see that.
And then the fact that it's like leaked to like a super right wing, local news source, like.
Yeah, this is a website that wanted Kevin Virgil to win that primary.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, if you want to take a politician down for their outbursts, you got to get it on video.
Yeah. You got to do a supercut on YouTube. You got to get all the best moments together.
Yep.
The worst moments, rather. You got to get them all together so they're easily digestible. Got to send that link out.
YouTube.com/@RockHardCaucus. All right. So that's, one election that we did have an influence on, 3 elections that we probably didn't. We might have got the vote out for Melissa Vine a little bit.
Yeah, I hope at least one person, voted her in just because, like I said, she needed it,
Yeah.
She was in a bad spot, so, it's good to support your friends.
I did see that our friend Brian McLean was supporting her, so that's good.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't really, I think we said that she's basically couldn't really figure out any actual policy differences between her and Bacom.
Nah.
But she seemed kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I did see, a few of the more progressive type Democrats in Des Moines.
Yeah.
The type who are still voting. They were, expressing some support for her.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not our audience. We're anti-voting. You want to hear a voicemail we got? We just got one this week.
Sure.
It's from our friend Micah.
Hi, this is Micah out of Des Moines, and I just wanted to plug a Pride event happening in Des Moines called Des Moines People's Pride. It's happening June 15th, and it is an anti-cop, anti-corporation Pride event that is meant to celebrate the community. There's tons of queer artists that sell their art there. There will be performances, spoken word, drag. There'll be some nonprofit groups there providing gender-affirming fashion like binders, makeup, those types of things, clothes. That's all free. And then there also is usually a book donation that you can either donate books to or take books from for free. So I just wanted to plug that event, and I hope to see you all there if you are in the Des Moines area.
And I have one addendum. Micah DM'd me shortly after leaving that message because she forgot to mention that the event is at Lauridsen Amphitheater at Waterworks Park.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's good. You know, a lot of the more official Pride events are often, you know, full of bank advertisements and shit.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very cool.
Yeah, I remember there was that split like last year, I think, where the People's Pride first did their event in opposition to, or, you know, not, I guess not in opposition to, but, you know, just an
effort to make like an actual
friendly, less corporate
more
friendly,
inclusive. Yeah.
Which is
cool.
Obviously good. So
yeah, as a straight man, I support that effort.
Yeah, and I was trying to drive home the other day, and I forgot that Pride was happening, or Pride Fest was happening in East Village, so I had to reroute. So that's another reason to go to the People's Pride instead.
Yeah, they're not blocking traffic, which is another one of the gravest crimes you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to call us to tell us about events that you would like the Rock Hard community to be aware of, or you can call us for any reason, whatever, 319-849-8733. 319-849-8733. You can also tell us about, hey, if you lost a primary that we didn't know about and you want to bitch about it, we'd be happy to receive your, were you the victim of a smear campaign? Tell the Rock Hard Caucus community about your experience. Oh yeah, we also have a P.O. Box. P.O. Box 5336 in Coralville, Iowa, 52241. Don't get a ton of packages there, but it's nice to have just for people to send us notes like this one. This is from Richard in Lincoln, Nebraska, my old home. And he writes, "Hi, Rock Hardians." I think that's a new one, Hardians.
Yeah.
Please find included a postcard and some stickers from a Lincoln, Nebraska staple, a novel idea bookstore. And I don't think this bookstore was around when I left Lincoln, Nebraska in 2001. So I don't have any personal experiences with it, but this is just what Richard says. Some great gals run it, and they always adopt their shop cats from the Cat House, a local no-kill cat shelter where I volunteer. Love the program. Keep doing the Midwest proud. Again, that's from Nebraska Richard, who I think has called a couple times. I think he's the guy who called about the fencing sort of rivalry. And then he told us about the DMV fish guy. So I wouldn't call that a Rock Hard Caucus endorsement of this business, but you know, if you want to send us stickers of cats like this one, I'm showing Evan.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd be happy to read what you think about the business.
Lead sales associate Charlie looks like he's doing a good job.
Yeah, we got Charlie and Cricket is this other cat here. They both look very nice. Charlie looks like my old family cat Dusty, who we did adopt while we were living in Lincoln, Nebraska. So perhaps it's a relative, a descendant of Dusty's family. Thank you, Richard. And maybe I'll like tweet pictures of these stickers just so people know what the fuck we're talking about with these cats. P.O. Box 5336, Coralville, Iowa, 52241. Aside from People's Pride, do you know anything else going on in Des Moines, Evan?
I do not have anything to plug this week.
Cool. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's something that has been around for a couple months that I have failed to mention on the show. A friend of the show, Riley, along with some other collaborators, has put together a zine. Their group is called Prairie Workers United. And the first zine that they put out is basically everything you need to know about labor law in the state of Iowa and how to unionize your own workplace. There's a PDF that's free, which I'll put a link to their link tree in the description of this episode. You can get that PDF. Honestly, I wish that I had a copy of this when we started unionizing my workplace, because it's like pretty much everything in like 20 pages or so, everything that you need to know about how to do that. And I saw Riley at Pokies Fest on Friday, losing track of time, and got to check out a physical copy of it. And it's good stuff, and you can also donate to them to help them print more copies of it.
Nice.
I think it's good. a more personal plug. My band BCJ's Peas is going to be on WZRD in Chicago this Thursday night, June 13th at 10 p.m. I think you can stream it on their website. It's WZRD Chicago, WZRDchicago.org. Yeah.
It's pretty sick.
I may have mentioned on the show before because we were trying to do that in January and I got snowed in and couldn't get to Chicago. But that'll be fun. If you're nearby, you can listen in Chicago. If you're not, you can go to WZRDchicago.org. I do have a Des Moines plug. That same night, June 13th, this Thursday, special screening of the first 3 episodes of Christian Day's documentary series, The Last American Gay Bar, which is about Blazing Saddle. Mm-hmm. Again, I still haven't had time to watch that, but I'm sure it's great. I do want to find out about the history of Blazing Saddle, so
yeah,
I'm sure you do too.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to check it out.
Yep. And then later this month, June 25th, Nat Baldwin, improvisational bassist, will be playing a show at Trumpet Blossom that me, Gabby Vanek, Katie at the Trumpet Blossom, we all pitched in to make this show happen. It should be a really good time. So come check that out. June 25th, Trumpet Blossom. If you like the show, you can support it at patreon.com/rockhardcaucus. Just released a new episode of Speed Freak Read Speak with our pal Tony, where we talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, various media, mostly comics. I did talk about, have you ever played Sonic Battle? Do you know what that is?
I have not.
It's a Game Boy Advance game from 2004.
Oh, okay.
If you want to know what I think of that game, patreon.com/rockhardcaucus. And in celebration of this weekend's Pokies Fest, we're going to close out with some music from Boot Camp. We love Boot Camp here on Rock Hard Caucus. This is their song Controlled Burn from their new 7-inch of the same name, Controlled Burn. If you have music you'd like us to play on the show, rockhardcock.us, link near the top. We'd love to play it. And I'll buy whatever you got on Bandcamp. So we'll spread the message about your music, and I'll also give you money.
That's
what a
really,
deal.
Can't lose. Can't lose. If you have music, give it to Justin.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Mandy Remington, for defeating Roy Sam Porter in the Johnson County Board of Supervisors election.
Hell yes. Amen to that.
One more time.
Hard Rock Caucus. I thought it was some porn stuff.
These people are sick.
All right. See you later.